All the topics that are off limits in most workplaces: religion, sex, politics. That's what we talk about here at HuffPost Live all day. And it's for work. But everyone has a very different idea of what's appropriate, and we all have different reactions when coworkers overshare about their lives.
It's a matter of preference, right? It's in the eye of the beholder. There's no set definition for what's oversharing, but typically it's going to be something that you disclose at work that could either hurt you or make your coworkers uncomfortable. And that's something that we need to either be good at sort of intuiting, perceiving, or that somebody needs to tell us about. And that's, I think, more often what happens. One that I could tell you about was a person who it was very much wore her heart on her sleeve at work, right? So we got everything about the kids and the animals and her baking, and it's wonderful and it's so warm and fantastic, until she started to actually bring to work some of the things that weren't going well in her personal life. And then we got some very insane drama with the crazy boyfriends and people in prison and out of prison and violence and restraining orders and a lot of very intense stuff that ended up really having the effect that it got everyone to not trust her judgment in terms of how she was living her life, and pretty much trashing her professional credibility, which up until that time had been okay. So I think that's one, and I would love to hear what the guys say about this. I think that's one of the big liabilities of bringing too much of that stuff to work, is that people start to really look at aspects of your life and frankly judge you. And really, who can blame them?
Supervisor is going to wonder, can I trust you with these secrets if you can't even keep, some level of privacy? There's some people now who just, with the advent of social media, don't have that privacy filter going on. They're used to sharing information. Maybe they've come up through college. They're texting, hundreds of texts a day of what they're doing. And they're not used to the workplace rules. So in essence, it's up to the employer to sort of give those workplace rules to that employee and let them know, okay, there are limits at work, even if you don't see the limits in your everyday life.
Yeah, and I think with the ease with which we all have access to social media, there really isn't much of a stark line between what happens in the workplace and what happens outside of the workplace, because I could post something at 9 o'clock at night, but if I'm Facebook friends with a couple of coworkers, they're going to see it either 9 o'clock at night, or they may see it the next morning at the office on their smartphones and share it with other people. So there really is no line between what happens in the office and outside of the office, and that contributes to the oversharing.
And I know one thing that it's easy to forget is that you can't complain about your job on your Facebook page. I know all of you have had stories of firings, or at least reprimanding the individual for suggesting that things weren't so rosy at work, and a coworker or a boss saw it and they didn't like it.
Yeah, you've got that Heather Armstrong sort of popularized this 10 years ago. And there was a word for it that we had, which is, you were deuced. She blogged about her boss on her blog, and her boss found out, didn't like it, and was let go. That is happening with ever increasing frequency. I mean, just last week you had an employee who posted on Facebook that they thought that Obama should get assassinated. Well, it went viral. She probably thought it just went out to a few of her friends, but someone shared it. It got shared and shared and shared, and 24 hours later, she was out of a job from Cold Stone Creamery because she expressed her views about Obama. So I think the Facebook revolution that we've had is really creating a lot of issues that we're seeing much more frequently than we did 10, 15 years ago.
The fact that it's work doesn't mean it's any less of a social environment or a community or a tribe than any place else. I don't know that it's a matter of putting your foot down. As a matter of fact, I think the putting your foot down is the reason there is a network and a back channel, because people don't have a way to really sort of exercise those muscles and have those conversations. I don't mean the divorce nitty-gritty. That would be something that most of us are raised not to talk about except with besties anyway, right? But I don't know that I would agree that there's this different ecosystem at work where there's a higher level for, formality. I think that's actually a big problem in the workplace. And one of the reasons that you have so much of this sort of like, where do I get my human juice sort of activity that happens in social media.
I think employees have to be smart enough to know that there's a certain line that can't be crossed. I mean, if a supervisor is giving you a hard time because you're not getting the job done or you're doing something that he or she doesn't like, you're not necessarily going to go run to HR. It's something you're just going to have to work out with your supervisor or fix the way you do your job. But if the supervisor or a coworker crosses the line and treads into behavior that would violate a respect in the workplace policy or an anti-harassment policy, I wouldn't hesitate to go to human resources.
But it's so much easier said than done. Because, I mean, when I was talking to people about this segment, we all have anecdotes of like, oh my gosh, this person did this, or oh my gosh, this person did this. And the number of people, Liz, who wanted to report it was like 0 because they're afraid of even being associated with the drama having a negative reflection on them.